a lot of trashy mini. Everywhere.
What is a trashy mini?
A trashy mini is a place that you have a square thing, something like 30 or 40 by 15 or 40 by 20, and you put a lot of coconut bow on it, and you fix it so solemn that it don't leak. When you move up from that trash mini, we may go further down in the country and buy touch. This touch thing is like something that make the broom now bare and free, and we'll buy it in the forest from big men that have those big property further down. We call it Rock, Goshen, and further down, and we go down there with trucks and drays, and drays was in those days, and buy the touch and put on this trash thing, and we call it trashy mini. So that's something don't serve much long. One may serve for 3, 4, 5 years before it start to run, rain will be through it and wet you and all like that. So I have a lot of experience of these different trashy mini, move from place to place. You have this spot and you move one other spot and you go to another.
Are you still building trashy minis?
No, since the Lord blessed me and I come to Kingston, and I come to Kingston in the early 50s, and then I was invited then to a cousin of mine have a little place, and then I come there and preach, and my first message I preached there was Ephesians 4:4, one Lord. It was one faith and there was one baptism, and the people started to accept the gospel and start to be blessed. And
so when was your last trashy mini?
My last trashy mini blown on in this in 50 this 51 breeze, this Flora breeze that blows there look like.
It must be Charlie.
I don't know. No,
Hurricane Charlie.
It was before. Charlie was, I think Charlie was after. But
Yeah,
it
Charlie
was
was
Flora. 51 though.
Charlie.
It was 51.
Uh-huh.
And it blew it straight down. and when I lived to build up another one further down near the road, I built up a zinc something now.
Oh.
And it was zinc now. I come out and,
So what was it like to be a street preacher in those days?
but
Did you have a lot of opposition, or did people like the gospel you preached?
the people were glad for it. The people would have it, that's the only enjoyment they could get. No picture hall, no sport place, nothing. So when they know you come in at a place, people come out from early.
Oh.
And people would flock you, and people would climb tree to hear you, because they did not know more
Diversion.
enjoyment but you, and especially if you is a very good speaker, good preacher, what you may call it, people would enjoy.
Were you performing miracles then? Can
Yes,
you remember any?
Well, if people would sick in the district, they would call me, send and call Brother Luther, and whatever been the condition, things would improve, the sick would improve, the sick would get better. Because I could remember one night, this little boy was coming from shop early. And you know, in those days, in country days, as night come on, children always say they're afraid of duppy. And this little boy hit down somehow the other and was dumb, couldn't talk. And they said and called me. And when I walk in the house, he was stiff on the ground. And one rebuke, I rebuked that sickness in the name of Jesus Christ and called him 3 times, and he answered. I said, you know me? He said, yes, sir. I said, who is this? He would say, Brother Luther, our teacher, because I used to teach, as I tell you. I taught a basic school for years in my district. So I could remember that little boy come back to life, though he was dying. I couldn't talk one word in my early. They could call me anywhere for any trouble, any sickness, any place or anything like that.
Tell us how you dealt with people who opposed your preaching or teaching or
Well,
sought to interfere with your meeting.
I was such a kind of a preacher. I thank God put the calling on me like that, because I'm very determined and I have to get what I come about true. And if people would almost pick up my little lantern, I call it, it would be a little lantern, and because seldom we preach in the crossroad. And in every crossroad there always been a rum shop, 2-3 rum shop, because that was their delight in those days.
He went to Richmond Park keeping street meeting, and a man opposed him, and all that he could do, grab off the money, molest him, and break up the meeting. And all that him doing, close down the meeting, and he said 3 days time I pronounce blindness on you.
And what happened after that?
Then I must blind. What's here?
And so, and if people would try to offend my meeting and take up my lamp, I would start to warn them and saying, my friend, you better put back this lamp, because you're not reaching home before something's going to happen. Blindness, death, this is going to happen. I could remember a gentleman, he picked up my lamp off the table, and I said, you're not going home tonight. When you reach home, you'll be blind. And you'll be a blind man, die blind. People would try to offend my service, and I would call to them and say, listen, so-and-so going to happen. I could remember a young man was jeering me every word I preach. He go over it and jeer me and making game, because my tongue used to be very loose and all that. I said, son, next week Sunday evening you wouldn't be here. You'll be here. Well, God leave heaven and I won't be there no more. And the next Sunday evening there was a funeral for him. And
he went keeping street meeting again. And as the offering blessed, a man went up and took off the offering off the table. And he said, Isaiah, the last offering you took. Isaiah, 3 days, 40 days you're there. Me loot has no got no there. And I saw.
Where a year ago, and people would say, who out there? I said, Brother Luther. They say, oh. And they would caution, and they would be so fearful, because they know if I say anything, it's going to happen like I said. So God really make me a very remarkable preacher around, and people would mark me, and people would know me, and people would understand definitely what they are around for. Brother Luther is at the crossroads.